The two-night documentary about talk show host Wendy Williams will debut tonight on Lifetime as scheduled, despite an attempt by our court-assigned guardian to stop it. Williams is an executive producer of the docuseries Where is Wendy Williams? Now, the suit was filed Thursday, same day a care team for the talk show host announced that Williams was diagnosed last year with aphasia and dementia. In the documentary, family members and others around her, they expressed some concerns about her health.
She was crying out for help.
Did you drink this whole thing today?
Keep it there.
Okay.
Keep it there.
This doesn't look like anything familiar.
I think she's losing memory. Have you guys noticed that?
How dare him? I control men. I weigh 138.
Anybody could look at her and tell this is not just alcohol. There's something more going on.
Dr. Monica Parker is here. She's an associate professor of medicine at Emory University. Dr. Parker, thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
So, dementia and aphasia. First, explain aphasia. What is that?
Aphasia is where people can't say words, can't get words out that make sense. So they are having difficulty verbalizing and expressing themselves.
What I did not appreciate until this this announcement from her care team is that more than 1 in 5 African Americans over the age of 70, so I think it's like 21% or so, are living with Alzheimer's in this country, twice the number of white Americans. Why is that? Do we know?
We don't. That's a really good question. And I think that one of the things that we're trying to do through research is understand the differences. And I think it's really important for people to appreciate that all dementia is not Alzheimer's.
Oh, that's a good point. Oh, explain that.
Okay,
Yeah.
So dementia is a broad term, and underneath that title of dementia, there's several different types of dementia. Wendy Williams has been diagnosed with something called frontotemporal dementia. Alzheimer's is the most commonly diagnosed dementia. In people of color, particularly African Americans and Latin Americans, there is something called vascular dementia. It's a vascular component. If somebody has heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, or has had a stroke, all of those are risk factors for strokes. You can have problems with the way your brain works and functions. Okay, is it Alzheimer's? No. I think that the end result of dementia is that the individual is no longer able to take care of him or herself.
Let me toss this right over your shoulder, so I don't want to distract people from what you're saying there with that hanging there. Are aphasia and dementia often diagnosed together? Are they usually coupled?
No. Aphasia is a symptom.
Yeah.
And it's usually something that affects the temporal lobe of the brain. And you can get that with other disorders, other neurologic disorders. So aphasia is a symptom of a neurodegenerative process. What is that process? You don't really know what that is until the doctors have done enough evaluation to be able to say what has caused it. Yeah. But people who've had strokes will sometimes not be able to speak and communicate and use their words correctly, make sentences that make sense.
Yeah. One of probably the most potent fears I have is that one day my mother will look at me and not know who I am and not recognize me. You and your own family have had to deal with and treat and support a family member with dementia.
Yes.
What did that look like as it relates to getting the care that your mother?
My mother
Needed.
I think that as she aged, and she really wasn't really symptomatic until she was about in her mid-80s, we started to notice that she was doing things differently. She couldn't pay her bills. My older brother, younger brother managed her property and her financial affairs. And it was when I came to visit that I noticed things like she wasn't dressing carefully, she was a meticulous dresser, she was a meticulous housekeeper, and all those things that we were used to weren't in place. And when I talked to her doctors, they would say things like, well, you know, your mother missed her appointments. Well, my mother was a school teacher. She had health insurance. She regularly visited her doctors until she didn't. And those are things that when you're dealing with somebody who has dementia or is developing dementia, changes in their overall lifestyle patterns that you need to pay attention to. People say, well, they keep repeating stories. Well, in my mother's case, she stopped dressing. She stopped taking care of her business affairs. She stopped socializing. Okay, those are some soft signs that indicate something may be wrong, doesn't tell you what it is. And she went to her primary care doctor. I'm here at Emory. I brought her down here. She started participating in some research studies. And when things got a little confused, you know, she did see a neurologist up there who said, well, I think your mother has dementia and I'm going to put her on these medicines. And I said, okay. We just thought that her dementia was a result of strokes, just like her mother and her family members who had all had diabetes and hypertension, that this was just an offset of that. And that's what we thought until she participated in a study and she had a lumbar puncture where they told us or showed us that she confirmed that she actually had Alzheimer's as well.
Yeah, I found that half of 55% of Black Americans think that significant loss of cognitive abilities or memory is a natural part of aging. That needs to be checked out. It's not just people getting old. This could be something more serious. Dr. Parker, thank you so much for being with me.